More news to get to this morning. Let's talk about student loans. It's been, I don't know, maybe, don't want to say it's been like my cause to celeb. I can't stand the fact that the Americans are saddled with millions of dollars in student loan debt.
And to the point where people text me and they're like, what does your husband have against college? I'm like, he likes college. He doesn't like debt for college.
Right. They're like, why? Clayton doesn't like college.
You're anti-education.
And I'm like, no. I just want you to think about, like, if you're going to college in the United States, I want you to think about what the return on that investment is. Because if you're going to be saddled with $80,000 in student loan debt to become a social worker where you're only making $30,000 a year, chances of you ever being able to pay this back are going to be very slim.
Absolutely.
So you really need to think through the return on that investment. And it's very easy for you to draw a line if you're becoming a doctor or a dentist or an archaeologist or you know how much you'll probably make per year based on this. It'll take me 7 years to pay it back. Well, for millions of Americans who, in a lot of these loans that as we talked about here on the show, are pretty darn predatory as well.
Yes.
Targeting lower income Americans, trying to sell them the dream of going to college. And then they're saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. And
not to mention the credit card companies preying on them too while
they're right there at the student union building asking you to open a credit card as well.
I did that when I was
too.
Yeah, when I was in college, I was like, what's this? I'll sign up.
I mean, think about that, right?
Free
the
money.
audacity that these banks can literally go to a student union building and set up a tent, right? And set up and give you free T-shirts and give you a credit card, all trying to get these kids in there. And
they give you your university logoed stuff. Like,
oh, right.
Do you want a Cal State, hat? And I was like, yes, I do. And then I got a credit card with it.
And on the side, it says like Bank of America or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, student loan debt and credit card debt on campus, it's killing our young people in the United States. Well, the question this morning is, will President Biden rescue vulnerable student borrowers from default? The president can relieve 7.3 million student debtors from default, which is would benefit their credit scores. It would avoid wage garnishment. He hasn't yet committed to doing it, but there is a growing cacophony of progressives and even more moderate Democrats who are saying, Mr. President, at the very least, your campaign promise was to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt. At least do that. Remember, he said, I want to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt for each of the roughly 37 million Americans who owe these federally backed student loans.
It started at 50,000, didn't it?
Programs. Well, not for him. He always kept it right around 10. It was other people in the party who were pushing 50. And he always kind of held firm at 10, but then he hasn't even done the 10.
Some of the pushback that he said about this, though, is that he's not sure how it would apply to people who get new debt. Like somebody could say, oh, I was going to go to this school. I will take on, 10,000 new debt because I know that debt. He's concerned about like future proofing it. And I get it, but you have to have an answer to that before you even say things like this,
Yeah, I guess. To me, it's get rid of it all, and make it a permanent thing. The fact that and make community college free. The fact that we've now removed community college from the stimulus package.
So we think.
At least we haven't seen the rest of the 10% of the bill. You're going to remove free community college, and you're not going to eliminate student loan debt. So how are you going to help this generation of kids who's saddled by this predatory amount of student loan debt? According to the report, the Biden Department of Education, helmed by Secretary Miguel Cardona, is considering proposals for how to restart the payment processing now. So all of these payments are about to kick into gear, but it hasn't yet taken steps to solidify protections for millions of struggling federal loan borrowers who are at risk of harsh consequences of default. So what they're saying is, many of these kids are going to default on these loans. Mm-hmm. Think about this. You're going to
not even kids. They're adults now who have had this debt for a long time.
I mean, it's awful. Think about that. I mean, these people. I don't care how many adults. 7.3 million borrowers who were in default as of March 2020. They were in default as of March 2020 when the pandemic hit.
And now how many of them are going to be able to pick back up and be like, that was a nice break. Thank you. I'm ready to make payments now.
I'm all set now. Thanks for that little
pandemic's
time
over.
Off. Yeah. More than a quarter of student loan holders were past due or in default at the onset of the pandemic. More than a quarter before we even heard the word COVID.
Right.
Part of a broader student debt crisis that has ballooned to $1.7 trillion right now. $1.7 trillion for these student loans right now. I mean, these kids go off to college and they think, I'll be able to get this paid off in like 4 or 5 years. No. And they end up being stuck with it for the next 20.
And they've not been really had any education on what debt is and what it means to have that on your balance sheet right before you start your life as an adult. And, it's sad there. It's just, it's like starting your life with an anchor, with an ankle weight.
Yeah, like a ball and chain.
Exactly.
Right? David,
Yes.
what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, in my opinion, I just feel like, student loan and medical bills should never be on our credit. Like that should not be on there.
Yeah. And it's the number one, right? Like medical bills are the number one thing that ruin people's credit.
Yes, absolutely.
Second are student loans. So you're right about that.
Yes, and student loan debt is unforgivable in bankruptcy. So it's like not just on your credit, it sticks on your credit.
Thanks, George W. Bush. That was a George W. Bushism. He made sure that like student loan debt would not be forgivable under bankruptcies. Thanks to him.
I'm going to say Biden is not going to do anything like this. I mean, it's nice that there's this sort of speculation and people are saying you should do this. I feel like this is going to fall off the agenda. I'm not banking on it. Should I ask him? Because he high-fived me on my Peloton ride this morning.
Yeah, this was now she thinks that it was actually Biden. Okay, so she texted me a picture of her Peloton ride this morning, which is like the stationary bike, where she does her classes every day.
And you high-five each other, and I was like, "Is that the real Joe Biden?"
It just said Joe Biden, and he's in Europe right now.
No, he's actually not yet. I looked at his schedule after that, but I was like, "It says Joseph Biden high-fived you," because I was taking a live ride, and I was like, "Is that the real one?" And then I clicked through his profile. And he's followed by Oprah.
No.
I mean, you never know.
I don't think that that's the real Joe Biden.
It also was like 2 a.m. on the East Coast. So
unless Joe was up like really Joe was up early in the morning, like really working through this reconciliation bill.
You don't know.
He's like, I gotta
probably
figure
was
out.
Like, that's that girl I met in 2013.
Right.
I know her.
I gotta really get to the bottom of this tax issue
and
right
I'm
now.
Like, can we do a live video chat? I want to ask you about student loan debt.
High five, Natalie. It's Biden. Biden here on the Peloton.
There were stories when he took over the presidency that his Peloton was a security risk. Mm-hmm. And so that at Joseph Biden on Peloton, it's all, none of the metrics are open. Like you can't see where he finished in the ride. You can't see what rides you can only see the number.
That would be so awesome to be able to take on Biden. Like, I'm coming for you.
Right. I did offer to video chat, but he didn't want to.
Say, if I win this, you executive order student loan debt. If you win, you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll beat you. 5K, 10K. If I beat you in this 10K,
oh man, that would be too much on my ability to
eliminate student loan debt.
I probably can.
Yeah, but you'd be doing it for America.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you'd be working it for America.
I don't know.
And then you'd let so many millions of people down if you couldn't pull it off. Oh boy! All right, so that's student loan defaults. We'll see right now, and if what the federal government's going to do, and be able to pull this off for 7.3 million people right now. We'll keep the pressure on. And thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.